I don't know where else to talk about this, but I do not like this time of year. I don't know why. I'll tell you the reasons why I think. And I want to start by saying it is not just this year. The last 4 years, I can vividly remember this time of year not being very fun. And yeah, I don't know. It's just so odd. The last few days, to be honest, it felt super weird. And this has happened to me before, so I want to preface that, but I'll sit down at my computer and it feels like I'm clicking buttons and looking at my screen all day, but nothing's happening. And that's really the only accurate representation for what it feels like. And the needle doesn't feel moved forward at the end of the day. And then sitting at my desk also feels just painful, like it's like like it makes me squirmish to sit there. Yet I do it all day. So it's a very super odd space to be in. I've had headaches all of the last 2 days, and I've done everything that I guess the obvious person would do, like hydrate, this, that. Honestly, I have no clue what is up and what I need to do. I just had like a mega sleep. I slept 10.5 hours. Yeah, I don't know, I'm just not doing good right now. At this current moment. That is subject to change and everything, but I've got exactly what I want to do lined out in front of me. I know how to do it, and yet I'm feeling this massive, just like, not only psychological, but just biological friction that's creating, it's psychological friction that I think creates these physical problems we run into. So I need to figure out how to deal with this because it sucks a lot. And like I said, I know exactly what I want to do, and I know how to do it, and I know what it can amount to when done right. So I'm gonna figure that out. And geez, the camera is looking a lot better again. So yeah, I will I'll keep you guys updated throughout the day. Alright, it is 4:18 a.m. and I'm about to go to bed here, but I just spent quite some time at the good old journal, and I just reflected a little bit more. I've been doing a lot of thinking around this past year, and this is not going to be the video where I dump all the lessons and everything. I do those, and I'm going to do one, but I'll let it be a little bit closer to the date. This one was more just about the biggest lesson, at least that I've uncovered so far, and also just what my plan is for the year, and I want to keep speaking it. So, plans for the year, so I'll start with 100k subs on the main channel, 10k subs on the business channel, 5k subs on the personal channel, 250,000 in additional investments, and then I also want to have my mom fully taken care of, which I will define by my own means that I'm not going to share on this video. And I want to keep that. That's my goal for the year, or goals for the year. And yeah, I mean, I could go and break down a lot of the reasons why it's like this or anything additional, but I honestly just want to talk about the biggest lesson that I've learned. And I'm not perfect at this. It's honestly something I struggle with. I'm still not good at it. But when you're trying to see success, the individual percentiles of productivity lead to an astronomical change in the level of results you get. So I'll give you a few examples. When a plane is on the launch pad, if it were in its first few miles of flight to just tilt itself by 1 degree, you would end up on the complete other side of Earth just from that 1 degree switch, because it goes, and as time goes on, that like little 1 degree switch here ends up being like this further out. Another example, in sports, the 1% of training that it might take to become the number 1 guy compared to being the number 2 guy is a million times different in the results, treatment, money, status, accolades, everything you get. And it's just 1 placement point off. In business and productivity, or in any kind of work, the compounding effects of general productivity only start to compound into real returns when you get to the degrees that people aren't willing to go to. So I'd say most humans hit around like the 60% mark. Let's just like call whatever the baseline work is. I don't know what it actually is. Now, let's say the average really hard-working entrepreneur, and I know every entrepreneur considers himself really hardworking. Let's say they're 80%. The people that get like the crazy results are the ones that break into like that 90th. It's actually way higher than that. These guys are in like the 1% of the 1% when it comes to just like input level. And the reason why that's important to note is because that little, even like pointage of percentages at that level lead to hundreds of millions, billions, trillions of dollars when it comes to the output of results that they get for making that decision. And the reason why I say this is because actually I'm going to kind of paraphrase one of the entries I put down here, but I classified money, and something I've learned about money this year is that it is I've heard people talk like, okay, Chinese view money as energy. I didn't understand it until I was going into this year and really seeing it like, wow, I consider money retained freedom. What is freedom? Freedom is the ability to control what you spend your energy on. And money is energy. So, freedom, money's energy as a result of the freedom that you get as a result of it. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm tired. But the point is like, what money really affords you is the ability to not have to spend your energy. And then as a result of that, you start to view it differently when it comes to who you let see your money, but then also where you deploy it, how you see the philosophy of it. Because if having money is what affords you freedom, you don't necessarily want to deploy your money because now you're exchanging your freedom for something else. You just have to be aware of these things. Anyways, that's not my point. My point is like, I'm talking about energy of productivity morsels here, and I've always talked about this concept. You can go back on my channel, my main channel, and I'm talking about this related to SMA and doing outreach with batteries of energy and productivity. What happens is I used to think by the philosophy of like, okay, you only have X amount of batteries of productivity in your life, so spend all of them on work and let everything else go to the wayside. Just screw it, whatever, done, bang. And that doesn't necessarily work that well. What I've learned, and the big lesson that I keep repeating to myself, is the way you do one thing is truly the way you do everything. I'll repeat that again. The way you do one thing is truly the way that you do everything. And you'll see. So I'll give an example of my life. You guys see me make my bed every day. If I were to not make my bed one day, it creates a ripple effect. Maybe I skimp out on and it just boom, done. And there's a million other things. I usually make my bed most days. Where I usually skimp out is in the meditation. If I don't meditate, boom. And I'm not saying that I like rely on these things and cope on these things, but it's the aversion of these things that's typically the symptom of something underlying, which then leads to a tailwind of bad consequences. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, okay, I kind of abided by this lesson this year. I mean, I'll give you an example. Just through my upbringing, thank my parents, and just reading a lot, I've been able to learn how to speak pretty succinctly, and I would say in a way where I'm comfortable talking to almost all demographics of people. Now, there are some conversations that, quite frankly, aren't in my weight class when it comes to even like certain business stuff, even like reading Jamie Dimon's book. I'm still trying to grasp a lot of it when it comes to the actual talking numbers of things. However, when it comes to just like general verbiage, I'm pretty good. And I try and keep it simple still. But the way I dress doesn't reflect that. Like, people look at me and they're usually very surprised by the way I speak. It's like, all right, well, I get it. I'm mixed, but that doesn't really have much to do with it. It's more of like the ragged hoodie, or the like hat covering my entire face, or the crazy hair. And it's just a personal weak point of mine, or has been. And if we abide by the principle, the way that I do one thing is the way they do everything, it comes across as sloppish, and I judge people based on sloppy appearance. So I understand how it makes me negatively perceive people, yet I'm victim to it and not very conscientious about implementing a solution for it myself, which is dumb. And it holds you back from achieving that like compound push momentum where everything just hits, and when everything's aligned, it's almost as if reality just starts course correcting and snapping at a far more aggressive rate than when you're not fully aligned, right? When you're kind of half foot in, half foot out to the version of you that you see doing something, it will often take a lot longer and feel a lot more painful. So I'll give you the example. The Alex that was trying to grow on YouTube but wanted to hold on to this identity of just being a business guy created about half a year's worth of, honestly maybe even longer, of just shooting absolute crap content at the wall and having nothing just bubble up as a result of it. So going into the new year and starting right now, I should even have taken this off before recording this, but the way I do one thing is the way I do everything, and that comes down to my personal appearance, comes down to my environment, which I don't do a terrible job of, but I could definitely be better. It comes down to like personal cleanliness, which I consider like making sure my hair's in order, making sure, I mean, I don't really grow much facial hair, but face is trimmed, body's clean, like all this stuff. And when you truly just kind of, I know it's so dumb and so minor, when you accept, okay, let me start at being the person across the board that does whatever I'd like to do, you kind of rough out a lot of the inconsistencies that would otherwise lead to the identity hurdles. Because that's why it takes longer. There's almost a little discovery as I'm going through this. But it takes longer when you're not willing to fully step into the role that you are trying to step into by not letting it imbue into every aspect of your life. So if you want to be perceived as a certain way online, then you're going to have to change things in your day-to-day life that might be stopping you from being perceived as that person. That's just something that I'm figuring out, and less figuring out, but figuring out the depth of, because it's easy to say all these things, and I heard them. I heard this going through Sam Ovens, Alex Becker, and even I think Charlie Morgan mentioned it in his Easy Grow Mindset modules. This was said, and I, at that time, said, oh yeah, I understand, and I did it. for a few months, and I forgot. And it's that constant reminder that when you're reminded again about it, it's the ability to keep it top of mind and then understand the depth to where it makes sense for you to do that with conviction, that I am now at a level of and trying to do for this year. So those are the things that I want to get done, and that's a little bit about probably the biggest lesson that I've sucked at this year, is just that friction of the thing self. And I've learned not to pedestalize things as much. I've definitely stopped pedestalizing money as much this year, and I reflected a bit on why that is, and it's because I lived as somebody in a pretty nice place earlier this year, and I also lived where I live now, which isn't anything out of the ordinary. And I can tell you, for what my goals personally are with money, this serves me quite well as a home base. I don't have any desire to move to any kind of more luxurious thing. Like, this is a property that my family owns, and if I can pay off, it's going to be mine, right? Already technically is. So I'd rather have that and then just like take a vacation or take a trip to somewhere, which is another lesson I learned of, like, do not conflate your temporary lifestyle with your forever lifestyle. And my initial understanding of that is just be broke and live well below your financial means until it makes sense for you to not. Until you still living well below your financial means just happens to be you in a Lamborghini or something. But it's not that. It's about understanding your weight class and being able to momentarily still have fun and enjoyment. So my philosophy going forward is, I have no doubt that I'm going to want to drive nice cars, as I already have, but there's a way to do it. You either rent that car, or you pay a friend who owns that car, or in my case, you have friends nice enough to just let you drive them. The thing is, you want to go on vacation, don't open a 6 or 12 month lease on a $12K a month apartment, even if it's split 3 ways like I did, or a $8K a month apartment split 3 ways like I did. Don't do that. Just go on Airbnb and rent it for a few days, 2 weeks, or just if you want to experience rich, rent it, and rent it short term. Do not trap yourself with contracts or any of these things, because it's not your forever lifestyle, and if you try and conflate it with it, you grow a sense of ego and attachment to something that's not truly yours, right? It's the same thing of, you might be able to afford something and you might not even be losing money on it. It might be a good place to park your cash, yet the fact that you're just not rich enough to have this thing is going to warp your sense of thing and almost give you a sense of entitlement. I noticed that in my own behaviors, there are certain things where I had a sense of entitlement around them because, oh, look at me, I have this thing, and it's, dude, I think to be spending the amount of money that I spent, this is in 2024, when I was doing the almost $7,000 a month on rent, food, and in-house chef / assistant / maid. And that's not even like the other monthly expenses. When I was doing that, and earlier this year when I was only spending around 4 or 5K a month, and this is Canadian, by the way, so do your math. It's like
Canadian at 1.3, trading at 1.4 now, whatever. It's still dumb. And in order to like properly spend that money, I'd say that's financially intelligent to do. Probably never. Like, fuck, you could buy a down payment with the money that you'd otherwise put on the fucking thing, and then now you can just pay a mortgage down, you have a property. Like, what the fuck are you doing? So again, I'm talking to myself. Just thoughts. And that's the kind of mindset that I have grown into. I was talking to it with actually just a friend of mine, and I was kind of saying, like, when you go through kind of what I've gone through over this last year, which is like, I talk about it somewhat, but I had not a nasty partnership end. It wasn't nasty at all. It was actually on really good terms and really smooth, but I didn't want it to happen. Like, I didn't want to have to do that, because I chose to step away because there were decisions that I just disagreed with, and I couldn't live with them being made and the standard that set. Not that they were wrong, I just didn't agree with them, me personally. And they weren't reflective of what I wanted for myself. So, going through that experience, I kind of had this trail of being a career overachiever. Like, I achieved pretty ridiculous money. And if you want to see me brag about it, feel free to go on my main channel and scroll down. There's plenty of behavior that I do not sanction nowadays. But and I'll still do dumb stuff like that going forward. I'm just saying, me looking back on 2025 and 2024 me and 2023 me, idiot. 2027 me looking back on me right now is probably still saying idiot. It's a good thing. But that career overachiever mindset really just got crumbled and like thrown into a ball in the latter half of 2024. And throughout 2025, it was about a rebuilding with a sense of not actually honestly pessimism, like understanding what can go wrong, understanding what did go wrong, understanding where people are pitfalling, understanding where the lies and traps are, and navigating in a way where I avoid them. And it's funny, the Creator Breakdown series was literally just like a manifestation of me doing that and me deciding I should share what I'm doing all this time. So, very interesting there. And I mean, it's just again, thoughts to the ether. But if you really do truly do one thing as you do everything, and you set for the person you want to be, the momentum at which your identity aligns, and therefore you go and you do your thing, whatever it might be, because everything outside of your work makes sense and is conducive to you getting the result you want, it's as if the whole world begins spinning and dancing to your tune. So for me, I've been fighting against that by not positioning myself in my life outside of work the right way. And I know doing that's going to make a big difference. I also know that when I do it, it is going to be really fucking cool to look back on this video, but also just a testament to it working. So that's kind of one of many. I've already done, I think, 3 reflections of just this year. And part of it comes to me just being pretty procrastinated and stuck on this main channel video. It's just problem after problem I run into with it. And the next few days of this channel are going to be me actually on a road trip back to Canada, where I'm going to be seeing my friends for a few days, which will be super cool for you guys to see. Just what I look like in a little bit more of a relaxed environment. And then also, yeah, kind of just where I come from. And it's been shown many times already, but you'll see the apartment where I grew up. I'm pretty transparent about this, but I don't come from money. I grew up with just my mom. I have my dad involved in my life, but I grew up with just my mom, living with her, and I was in a wealthy neighborhood because my mom worked a good job. She worked a 6-figure government job, but I didn't work. That was when I was 14 and got my first job. That's too far in the story. But I was in a very nice neighborhood, and I lived in an apartment just right on the boundaries of going to a really good public school with a lot of great kids who ended up becoming my friends. And there were even times where we had to move outside of the school's border, but we'd use a friend's address or something so that I could keep attending the school. And you'll get to see some of the people that I call friends. All great people. I've been friends with the same guys for, I don't even know how long. Since first grade, so if that's 5 and 6 years old. Almost 15 years. And I'm talking like pretty chum, everyday kind of thing. So I have really close, tight-knit group of friends. And excited to see them. Now that we've all kind of gone our own ways, we only usually check in once every 6 months or so. In person, that is. And FaceTime is jumping. That's like an everyday thing. But, yeah. Not to give you a full rant on my life. I try and make an effort for context to just say a lot of these things, because I know me looking back on it's going to be interested in what my personal life was like, too. So, again, if it's weirding you out, I'm sorry. Anybody else. But I don't really do anything conventionally fun with my friends. We usually just sit around and talk BS or go and play pickleball. That's one of them. We're gonna try going out. It's gonna be a disaster. I can already tell you that. But I'm now the age of being able to do anything in Canada. So I don't know what even there is to do additionally. I think I might try and go buy a cigar. That's one thing that I will definitely try and do. And yeah, I'm kind of just I'm bringing my computer back with me because it has all the files to work on my main channel video, and I can't really do anything without it. So I'm gonna get that set up, and I'm gonna be working back home. I am very excited to get this main channel video done, but I'm in this weird state right now where I know it's pretty futile to spend the last few days of this year scrambling to get it done, and it just makes more sense to prioritize me reflecting, planning the year properly. And I'm still going to work on the video, but where the opportunity presents itself, take a little break. If my friends ask me to go hang out while I'm back, I'm not going to say no. And then starting probably on Saturday is Thursday's Christmas. Saturday is the 27th, I think. Sorry, let me just check. Saturday's 27th, Sunday the 28th. By the 29th of December, I will be back to business. I won't be back in Florida. I'll be back in Florida within the first few days or so, first week of January. But I'll be fully back to work by, the 29th. I'm just going to take pretty much from when I get to Canada that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, take it easy, and then Sunday kind of reflect, and then 29th is like, all right, let's like, all right, I get it, everyone's winding down for the new year, but fuck, let's just get it on with, like, let's go. It's 2026, I'm happy already. So that's kind of my plan. I'm very excited. It's 4:46 a.m. now, and my client meetings for tomorrow are, I don't know, I'm interested to see what the turn-up's going to be. I've already kind of sent out my round of messages. Usually not much, and I've kind of briefed them like, hey, if you don't need to like tell me any groundbreaking discoveries, dude, just enjoy your holidays, because I can turn around and edit videos, but we don't need to like sit down and chat about it. So yeah, I am happy. I want to find a nice way to bow tie this. Outlining who I am, and then creating the system to remind myself of that, which I've done with my self-alchemy and trackers, which I've been very good at this year. I'll give myself credit for that. But then also remaining true to the how you do one thing is how you do everything. That is the key. That's how the momentum will be established. And this year for me, last note, is not going to be like the massive expansion year. There will be a year after that where I invest into clippers, all this stuff. This year for me is about picking what I do with YouTube, the infrastructure that I spent this year building, mastering it, becoming so good at it that it's undeniable that I get results, and then also stacking the cash flow. I don't know if I said this, but I want to be making $100,000 a month at the agency between Done For You and Done With You, in addition to everything brand-wise. So my camera's dying, or it stops the recording in 7 seconds. So hope the time that you spent with me is worth the value you got in return. I'll see you in the next one.